Tulsa police shot and killed an unarmed black man who was having car trouble. His name is Terence Crutcher. Cops were responding to an unrelated call when they came across him and they saw his car broken down in the middle of the road. Now, this guy is described in various media outlets as a church-going family man who was taking classes on music appreciation at a local community college. And then this happened.
Speaking of, like, pleasing your fans and always being their band, do you find it really hard?
Which way are they facing?
Now?
They're facing westbound. I think he may have just been tasered. Shots fired! And 321, we have shots fired. We have one suspect.
Where are you at? He's got his hands up there for her now. Mike, I'm going to hit the recorder. This guy's still walking and following commands.
Not for taser, I think.
I've got a feeling that's about to happen.
That looks like a bad dude, too. To be honest with you.
Which way are they facing?
Police one, they're facing westbound. I think he may have just been tasered.
Shots fired!
Ooh.
321, we have shots fired. We have one suspect down. We need IMSA here.
I need to get this.
So he laid in the street for about 2 minutes or so, being unattended to. Nobody rushed to help him. The cops did have first aid in their car. Nobody administered it. And he ended up dying. The cops are saying that he put his hands in his car. Now, obviously, you see early on there, he has his hands up. He walks towards his car, and then I couldn't tell from the helicopter one or the other one if he put his hands in his car. But the default assumptions are quite telling, aren't they? This idea that, well, if he indeed did do that, well, obviously he's going for a weapon and he's trying to kill you. There's how many of you? 4 of you were there? 4 officers and 1 of him? And his hands were up, kind of in the submissive position, and then what? Like, why? I don't... Like, they're taught, the cops are trained, everything is a threat all the time, no matter what. So that's how they act. Well, this is one of those instances where just a little bit of restraint could have saved the guy's life. He had no weapons. He had no weapons. Now, the 3 cops there didn't shoot and understood, let's be reasonable about this. 1 officer shot. And again, now he's dead. This is why Colin Kaepernick is protesting, man. Officers, not all of them, but many of them, some of them, are far too quick to violence. They're far too quick to pulling the trigger. You know, the number of deaths we have by officers in the United States, it's just way more than any other modern nation. There are some modern nations where officers don't even have guns. Now, I'm not advocating for that, but am I advocating for more restraint? Yes. Yes, I am. You know, I don't think it was necessary in this case. I don't. And I think that if you do think it was necessary, there's a little bit of rationalization going on your part. You know, when they're just the run-of-the-mill excuses that are trotted out. Oh, it's a hard job, and what are you going to do? They fear for their lives. And yeah, but that's the problem. The problem is that was an instance where you probably shouldn't have feared for your life. He didn't have any weapons on him. Now, after the fact, we know, okay, he was coming back from a fucking music appreciation class, and he's a church-going family man. Now, cops are also saying, oh, we found PCP in the car. Even if that's true, that's not a death sentence. Like, that's not, those facts are often released as, like, character assassination after the fact. That's, like, whatever, man. Like, I do recreational drugs. I don't do PCP. But I do recreational drugs. If I end up getting shot in a situation like that, I'd hope that people don't view that as convincing afterwards. Like, well, on the other hand, he did have a substance. What? Like, that's not it's amazing to me that lands with people. Like, aha. Like, what do you mean, aha? What does that mean? And you know how you should really think about this in order to understand the depth of the problem? If that was your kid, or if that was your brother, or your dad or whatever, and this is how he died, would you say, oh, I see where the cops were coming from? No, I think we'd all go, you know what? Little too quick to the trigger. Little too quick to the trigger. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that's too fast to the fucking trigger. I really don't. So they got to reel it in, man. And, the important thing is de-escalation training. Oftentimes people get on Black Lives Matter and they say, oh, they're bad for reasons X, Y, and Z. And sometimes their rhetoric does go too far. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon, all that stuff. I get the concern over that. But when you actually get to Campaign Zero, for example, which is the original, policy proposal plan from Black Lives Matter, you go, oh, all of this is reasonable. They say, let's have a civilian review board to see how the cops are doing. They say, let's have body cameras on all the officers. And that nips in the bud the chances an officers will do something wrong in the first place. So the statistics show officers are much less likely to, engage in those kind of negative actions if they know they're being recorded. Let's change the training so that de-escalation tactics are the go-to. As opposed to right now, it appears like escalation is built into the situation because cops are taught all the time, not, hey, protect and serve, but no, make sure, first things first, you take no risk with your lives whatsoever, and everybody's the enemy. That's the wrong way to go about it, and I think the statistics on how cops act in the U.S. and how many deaths there are in the U.S. prove that. They bear that out. Now, again, don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming all cops. I think most cops are probably good people, but when you have things like this happening, there's got to be some sort of reform to prevent this from happening because this isn't normal. This isn't normal. So it's a horrific situation, and I hope there's justice. It's so super duper duper rarely do you get anything other than maybe fired. Like, fired is the worst it gets. Oh, okay, find a new job. Like, it's not unreasonable to say, you know what, there should be an indictment, maybe there should be a conviction, everybody should look at all the evidence and say, you were too quick to pull the trigger. That almost never happens. So, naturally, as a result of this, you have black communities in the U.S. feel, there's a police occupation happening here, and it's not okay. The Baltimore report, remember that? In Chicago, there were black sites that cops had where they tortured people. That's not normal. In Baltimore, the report was endless. In Ferguson, the report was endless. Those departments were built on abuse. They were. I mean, they said Fourth Amendment, Schmortha Flenman. We don't care about that. We're going to search whoever we want for whatever reason we want. Dropping N-bombs left and right. One officer had over 100 complaints of abuse of authority against them. They didn't do anything. One officer said to a black kid right after the George Zimmerman case, how about you come to my town dressed in a hoodie, see how it works out for you? Just clear threats of violence. The list goes on and on of how they were acting like an occupying army. We all know the statistics on how the drug war is disproportionately targeted against black people. So this is why Colin Kaepernick is protesting. And as a final point here, it says something about your character if you're more angry at Colin Kaepernick sitting for the national anthem than you are at situations like this. And this isn't the only one. We've seen it time and time again. Walter Scott running away from the officer. Officer shoots him in the back, kills him, and then plants shit on him. Philando Castile. Hey, let me see your license. Okay, officer, I'm going to reach for my license. I just want to let you know I have a licensed firearm on me, but I'm going for my license right now. Okay, he goes for his license, shot dead. Cop doesn't help him, stands there with the gun pointed at him the entire time. The case in Staten Island, Eric Garner, choked out, killed. For what? Maybe not. Selling loose cigarettes? The list goes on and on. If you're more mad about Colin Kaepernick sitting for the national anthem in peaceful protest than you are about this, I question your moral compass.